Hi guys, welcome to Monday's assignment. This assignment will help you get ready for the week in science. It involves you getting your notebook set up for some research and getting some background information so that when you come in for your first day of face-to-face class, you're ready to go. So make sure you get this done on Monday so that if you have any questions, you can send them to me right away. This week in science, we're going to be looking at water organisms, and specifically like at the microscopic level. Our rivers and creeks and our lake have a lot of microorganisms that actually make up the base of the food chains in this area. The microorganisms, plant and animal matter, you might remember from 4th, 5th, 6th, and 7th grade. These bottom level producers and like really low level consumers make up the bottom of that energy pyramid, where the energy from the sun makes it up through the different levels through consumption. So a producer or a plant at the bottom level brings in that energy from the sun, transfers it into a energy form that consumers can use. So we'll be looking at how that energy coming in through those tiny microorganisms can over time build up to those top level consumers. You'll be amazed at what these little water creatures look like. They're really cool. They look like little monsters in the water. And we're going to see if we can find some of these microorganisms that are local, like in the waterway, but I also ordered some of my favorite microorganisms, which are called tardigrades. Now, tardigrades are super hard to find, so that's why I just went ahead and ordered them through a science company. But your first assignment for the week is going to be to get ready for these microscope labs that we're going to be doing. And so you're going to need to set your notebook up, and you're going to need to take some notes and do a little bit of research before class. So I'm excited to see your notebooks and see what you come to class with from this lesson. Page 1 is going to have your title and setting up with what you know before we get started as far as microscopes, plankton, and tardigrades are involved. And you're also going to set up for a microscope drawing that you're going to do here in just a minute. So pause the video and set up your page. On the back side of that page or on the next page, you're going to set up some concept webs for research that you're going to be doing regarding plankton and tardigrades. So pause the video and set up this second page. Now before you go and do any like Googling of the topics, just take a minute to think, what do you already know about microscopes? What's the purpose? How do they work? Anything that you can think about. Add some bulleted pieces of information about microscopes, and then move on to the concept of plankton. What do you know about plankton from other classes? Maybe go beyond SpongeBob. But what do you know about their function in an ecosystem? What do they look like? Anything you can think of. Bullet your information there. And then move on to tardigrades. Do you know anything about tardigrades before we do a little research? So some of this portion of your notes up at the top might have less information than in other areas, but just try to give me some things that you think you might know. The microscope that we'll be using is a really high quality microscope. You will be able to see in detail the plankton and tardigrades. So let me give you a quick introduction to it. Our microscope uses what's called a binocular view. So you have two different places for your eyes to look through. In this situation, you can use both eyes, but you don't necessarily have to. If you're more comfortable with one eye open and closing the other eye, you can. And this binocular view can be moved so that it fits like your eye placement a little bit better. There's just a couple things to be cautious with this. One, do not put your eyes directly on the eyepiece. You don't want to make contact between your face and the microscope. You're trying to keep your eyes above it. Two, after you get done, there will be alcohol prep pads, and you're going to go ahead and clean around the eyepiece and clean the eyepiece and where your hands were. And I'll show you that more when you're actually in class so that you know how to prepare the microscope for the next person. We want to be safe, and we don't want to get anything on the microscopes that shouldn't be there. When you get to the microscope, you're going to obviously want to make sure that it's turned on. This is an electrical microscope that has a light that shines up from the bottom up through the specimen. So this green arrow just points out the on-off switch. So if you start to look inside of it and you see complete darkness, maybe check to see if it's turned on first. Whenever you're using the microscope, you always want to start with the magnification on the lowest level possible. You want to make sure that the eyepiece and the lenses are moved as far away up from your sample as possible. So you'll be able to increase your magnification, but remember, we always start at the lowest setting first. This view of the microscope shows you the stage, which is pointed out with the blue arrow, and the stage is where your sample will go. So the slide will be placed on the stage, and below that you have a light that shines up from below the base through a hole to allow those translucent objects to be lit up for you to see through. So the plankton and the tardigrades have some definition to them, and you'll be able to see outlines of them, but the light will really allow you to see through them because they are considered translucent. Once you have your sample on the stage, you'll be able to use the knobs that are pointed out with the green arrow by turning them forward and back and left to right. So you can adjust where the slide is in your view by using those knobs, the ones that are pointed to with the green arrow. The blue arrow indicates the fine and coarse adjustment knobs, and that will allow you to make larger movements to move the stage up and down towards and away from the lenses. And then the fine tune will allow you to really get the image into a clear perspective with very small movements. Okay, after that introduction, what I'd like you to do now is pause the video and take some time in your notebook to sketch out what the microscope looks like. If you can label some of the parts that I mentioned in the discussion and maybe add some notes to help you remember ways to be safe and things that you need to do with the microscope along the edges of your diagram, that would be great. So pause the video and get your notebook filled in for microscope. All right, now it's time for page 2 of your notes, and in this section of your notes, you're going to do some research. So now it might be time to do a little Googling. You're going to look up things like phytoplankton, zooplankton, and tardigrades, and get some information so that when you come in the room, you have some idea of what you're even looking at. Take some time to look through images online, take some time to read the websites. Don't just read the first introductory line that shows up when you do the Google search. Actually click on the link and see if the website has some good images for you and some good information. In the next few seconds, I'm going to show you some examples of good websites that would be helpful to work with. You don't have to use these exact websites, but you're trying to stick with science-based websites. So you want the best of the best research to help you out when you get to class. So this is your assignment for Monday, to finish up with a little research. I'm very excited for these labs this week. I can't wait for you to see some of the little monsters in the water. This is one of my favorite parts of biology. So get your notebook ready so that I can walk around quickly and then introduce you to these water creatures. All right, see you soon, guys. Okay, so when you do your Google search for plankton, I'm not opposed to a website like Wikipedia. I think that there's some valuable information on there, and there are plenty of people contributing that know their information. What you always want to do with these kind of websites is check who the contributors are. So you would scroll, sorry for scrolling so fast, but you would scroll down to the bottom to see like who are some of the people that are contributing to this and like where are their sources from. So if they look legit, like the Scientist magazine, Astrobiology magazine, if they look like National Geographic News, then it may have some good information in it. The Wikipedia article for plankton isn't bad. There is some good stuff in there, and you could get some information from them. I think, though, a better website would be like from NOAA. NOAA is the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and this is what they do. This is their job, is to look at things like water and plankton, and so they're going to have some really cool images on their website. They're going to have some good information for you. Also, consider a source like National Geographic. National Geographic has some of the most amazing images. So if you go through their image library, they've got tons of stuff. And they even have like an encyclopedia entry that you can look at to give you some more like details and facts. As far as tardigrades go, when you go to search for tardigrades, again, Wikipedia might have some good information for you, but consider some resources like, again, nationalgeographic.com, livescience.com. These are going to be really reliable for you. And then also, there are some great videos and images out there. One of the best videos is on TED Ed. It's Meet the Tardigrade, the toughest animal on Earth. So if you watch that, it's only a 4-minute long video clip, and you'll be really ready for class then. So take a look at some reliable resources, jot down some information. The more you have, the better your experience is going to be in class. So see you soon, guys.